Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are doing the SOC Level 1 learning path in TryHackMe. This is the Security Information and Event Management module. This is the Incident Handling with Splunk room. Learn to use Splunk for incident handling through interactive scenarios. So we should get plenty of hands-on in this, possibly. We'll see. But there's all kinds of different tasks. As you can see, we're going to go through things of this nature: reconnaissance phase, exploitation phase, installation phase, etc., etc. But if you want to support the channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so every time I post to the channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it and see what they're talking about. Task 1, Introduction, Incident Handling. This room covers an incident handling scenario using Splunk. An incident from a security perspective is any event or action that has a negative consequence on the security of a user/computer or an organization is considered a security incident. Below are a few of the events that would negatively affect the environment when they occurred. Now, this is subjectives, okay? This depends on your organization, right? This is just a general definition of what a security incident is. So sometimes it'll vary organization by organization. So just take that into consideration. So examples down here: crash in the system, execution of an unwanted program, access to sensitive information from an unauthorized user, website being defaced by the attacker, the use of USB devices when there is a restriction in usage is against the company's policy, learning objectives. Learn how to leverage OSINT sites during investigation, how to map attackers' activities to cyber kill chain phases, how to utilize effective Splunk searches to investigate logs, understand the importance of host-centric and network-centric log sources. Room prerequisites: says before going to this room, expected participants will have a basic understanding of Splunk. If not, consider going through this room. Splunk 101, or you can check out my channel, see if I have this room already done in video format. It is good to understand the following for completing this lesson: Splunk overview and basic navigation, important Splunk queries, know how to use different functions/values to craft a search query, how to look for interesting fields. Okay, we read that. Let's go on to task number 2 here. Incident handling life cycle. Okay, cool. So you can see this fancy little graph here. You got the detection, analysis, containment, eradication, recovery, post-incident activities, and preparation. All right, and like I said, this is another general definition of what this process looks like. Other well-known processes out there for incident response is one by SANS, which I think they just recently. No, SANS is the 6-step one. Yeah, this is SANS here. So you got preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. Now the other one is NIST, which is another well-known one. It looks like they just updated it here. This is the full document, but this is just a little like snippet or overview of what this is. So we got respond, recover, detect. So they changed it up a little bit. This used to be a 4-step process, as it says here: detect, respond, and recover is the new format they're using here. But it used to be a 4-step process, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I have links in the description if you want to take a look at these here, just as examples. And like I said, it'll depend on your organization. And I'm not sure what happened there, but let's go back here. As an incident responder / SOC analyst, we would aim to know the attacker's tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs for short. Then we can stop, defend, prevent against the attack in a better way. The incident handling process is divided into 4 different phases. Let's briefly go through each phase before jumping into the incident, which we will be going through in this exercise. You have the preparation phase. The preparation phase covers the readiness of the organization against an attack. This means documenting the requirements, defining the policies, incorporating the security controls to monitor, like EDR, SIM, IDS, IPS, etc. It also includes hiring / training staff. That's straightforward, right? You're preparing for the battle that's going to be happening eventually. Okay, so at some point you're going to get punched in the face when prevention fails. Okay, so you're going to have to need to know how to respond to that particular cybersecurity event or investigation that's going on. Okay, and that's where preparation comes in place here, because you have to have, like, an accurate inventory of systems, applications, users, what have you, because that helps you throughout your investigating process and also this incident response process. But anyway, let's continue on. Task number 2, detection and analysis. The detection phase covers everything related to detecting an incident and analysis process of the incident. This phase covers getting alerts from the security tools or security controls like the SIM or EDR, investigating the alert to find the root cause. This phase also covers hunting for the unknown threat within the organization. Um, like it says here, like your this is generally going to be like your SOC alerts that come in. Okay. Containment, eradication, and recovery, or at least your SOC alerts are going to go into this area here. Containment, eradication, recovery. This phase covers the actions needed to prevent the incident from spreading and securing the network. It involves steps taken to avoid an attack from spreading into the network, isolating the affected host or containing the host, clearing the network from the infection traces, and gaining control back from the attack. Good to know there. And number 4, post-incident activity / lessons learned. This phase includes identifying loopholes in organization's security posture, which led to the intrusion, and improving so that the attack does not happen next time. These steps involve identifying weaknesses that led to attack, adding detection rules so that similar breach does not happen again, and most importantly, training the staff if required. Now, with this report here, this is usually in report format after an event or investigation, incident, whatever they choose to call it. Okay, you're gonna put all your lessons learned inside this little report here or document. That way you can bring it up in the main like closeout meeting or what have you. And just make sure that these are actually followed upon, because I've seen many cases where there's a lessons learned report, it doesn't even get looked at after the investigation has been wrapped up. It just sits there and gathers dust. And then something else happens along down the road that's similar to the investigation that previously happened. So don't let that happen to y'all. Make sure you actually carry out the lessons learned and they turn into action items. So remember that. Let's continue on here. Task number 3, incident handling scenario. I've already started up the machine. Just click that button here. In this exercise, we will investigate a cyber attack in which the attacker defaced an organization's website. This organization has Splunk as a SIM solution setup. Our task as a security analysis or analyst would be to investigate this cyber attack and map the attacker's activities into 7 of the cyber kill chain phases. It is important to note that we don't need to follow the sequence of the cyber kill chain during the investigation. One finding in this phase will lead to another finding that may have mapped into some other phase. Okay, speaking of that, same thing with this incident handling lifecycle. Okay, you may need to go through several of these phases before you close it out. Before you get to post-incident activities or whatever. Okay, you might have to cycle through a couple of these, depending on the severity of the situation. But anyway, let's continue on. And let's see here. We will follow the cyber kill chain model and map the attack's activity in each phase of the investigation. When required, we'll also utilize OSINT and other findings to fill the gaps in the kill chain. It is not necessary to follow the sequence of the phases while investigating. Okay, you got reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control actions on objectives scenario. A big corporation, Wayne Enterprises, this is Batman, has recently faced a cyber attack where the attackers broke into their network, found their way to their website, and have successfully defaced the website, which is this here. I'm really not Batman.com. Their website is now showing the trademark of the attackers with the message, your site has been defaced here, when this is what it looks like there. Poison Ivy was here, deal with it, admin, cool. They have requested us to join them as a security analyst and help them investigate the cyber attack and find the root cause in all the attackers' activities within the network. The good thing is that they have Splunk already in place, so we have got all the event logs related to attackers' activities captured. We need to explore the records and find how the attack got into the network and what actions they performed. This investigation comes under the detection and analysis phase. Now, speaking of this here, they know they talk about preparation and you need to be prepared. That's why they have Splunk listed here, because you should be sending your important logs over to your SIM solution, which would be Splunk or whatever you have in place. That's the alternative to Splunk or what have you. Anyway, you need to be sending those logs to Splunk. I've seen several instances where getting X, Y, and Z logs from X, Y, and Z machines. Okay, that goes back to preparation, which includes an accurate inventory of systems, which means that you should be able to identify those systems and then get those data sources ingested into your SIM. So make sure you're prepared for these attacks. Okay. But anyway, let's continue on here in Splunk. During our investigation, we will be using Splunk as our SIM solution. Logs are being ingested from the web server, firewall, Suricata, Sysmon, etc. In the data summary tab, we can explore the log sources, showing visibility into both network-centric and host-centric activities. To get the complete picture of the host and log sources being monitored in Wayne Enterprise, please click on the data summary and navigate the available tabs to get the information. All right, cool. And let's see here. I guess we need to go over to Splunk, right? let's see, and I forgot to do something here. So let me go back and click this. Okay. So I'm gonna try to plug this into that attack box and see if this is actually ready to go. So let's plug this in. All right, looks like it's firing up here, logging in, hopefully. But we should see something like this here, this little image. Okay, so when you go to data summary, and then I guess that's it. We're just gonna take a look at that so far. Yeah, okay. So let's go and try that. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking. Enjoy the video. We're going to click on the search and reporting over here inside of Splunk, and then we're going to click on data summary. Right, take a look inside of here. Okay, that's good to know. So there we go. We have dropped down everything. So we know what's inside of here, different hosts, sources, and source types. So let's flip back over here. And let's see, interesting log sources. Some of the interesting log sources that can help us in our investigation are the following here. So we have win event log, win registry, XML win event log, FortiGate, IIS, Nessus, Suricata. We got stream, HTTP, DNS, and ICMP. All right, so a lot of interesting logs here that can help us in our investigation. Note, all the event logs that we are going to investigate are present in the index equals bot SV1 or bots version 1, I guess. Now that we know what host we have to investigate, what sources and the source types are, let's connect to the lab and start investigating. Room, before moving forward, deploy the machine. When you deploy the machine, it will be assigned IP. The machine will take 3 to 5 minutes to start. Disclaimer, as this is a public data set released by Splunk, which depicts a realistic scenario, it is advised that this data set may contain profanity, slang, vulgar expressions, and/or generally offensive terminology. Please use with discretion. Okay, good thing to note there. Hopefully I don't have to bleep out anything on the video here. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to grab this real quick. Move to task number 4. Okay, so we already looked at data summary there. And let's just do all time. See if anything comes back here. There we go. This goes all back to 2016. Holy crap. All right, so we got stuff in there. Task number 4, reconnaissance phase, says is an attempt to discover and collect information about a target. It could be knowledge about the system and use, the web application, employees, location, etc. We will start our analysis by examining any reconnaissance attempt against the web server. I'm really not Batman.com. From an analyst perspective, where do we first need to look? If we look at the available log sources, we'll find some log sources covering the network traffic, which means all the inbound communication toward our web server will be logged into that log source that contains the web traffic. Let's start by searching for the domain in each, or in the search head, and then see which log sources includes the traces of our domain. Okay, that's good to know there. And let's go ahead and hop over there, take a look here. We already have the index already set in there, but I'm just going to grab the whole thing here. Search query explanation, we're going to look for events and logs in index bots version 1 or v1, which contains the I'm really not Batman.com. So it's pretty straightforward, okay? So let's get out of this. There we go. And then you can also stop this too if it's taken forever. But yeah, you can see different types of source types inside of here, right? As we already saw in that table anyway. So let's go and plug this in, hit enter there, okay. Here we have searched for the term not really Batman and Xbox version 1 and the source type field. We saw that the following log sources contain the traces of the search term Suricata, stream HTTP, FortiGate, UTM, IIS. From the name of these log sources, it is clear that, or it is clear what each log source may contain. Every analyst may have a different approach to investigating a scenario. Our first task is to identify the IP address attempting to perform reconnaissance activity on our web server. It will be obvious to look at the web traffic coming into the network. We can start looking into any of the logs mentioned above. Sources. Okay, so we got stuff in here, right? Good to know there. And I'm assuming we're going to be using, so they're looking at sources here, right? I believe that's what they said. Yeah, stream HTTP. Okay, that's good to go. So I'm sure we're going to select that, right? Yeah, so we're going to get into that here. Let us begin looking at the stream HTTP, which contains the HTTP traffic logs, and examine the source underscore IP field from the left panel. Source underscore IP field contains a source IP address. It finds in the logs. Okay, so we're going to do something like this here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and we can see that here. So I'm going to plug everything in here like so. All right, let's see what comes up here. And there we go. It's still running, but we can already see events and stuff flowing in here. And there should be a source IP. There we go, right there. Okay, so let's flip back over. Take a look. They have two that came back there. So we should have something similar. Yeah, there we go. .42 and .114. Okay, an important thing to note, if you don't find the field of interest, keep scrolling in the left panel. When you click on a field, it will contain all the values it finds in logs. So far, we found two IPs in the source IP field, which we already saw. The first IP seems to contain a high percentage of the logs as compared to the other IP, which could be the answer. If you want to confirm further, click on IP one by one. It will be added into the search query. Look at the logs to find the answer. To further confirm our suspicions about the IP address .42, click on the IP to examine the logs. We can look at the interesting fields like user agent, post request, URIs, etc., to see what kind of traffic's coming from this particular IP. And sometimes when there's a lot of activity going on here, it could be like scanning activity. A lot of times these um, adversaries will be out here just scanning the entire internet. Like you can see stuff on Shodan and things like that nature. But you have the scanners on the internet, these bots on the internet, just constantly scanning everything that's existing on the internet. But let's go ahead and click in here, and I should add it to the query at the top here. We can see that there. So let's take a look at a couple of these events when it starts loading some in there. But we should see something like this here. So let's flip back over. Okay, we got some data in there already. And we can see we have all kinds of fields here that we can take a look at here that may be of interest, right? And so that's pretty much it. There's URI stuff here, path, and they said there was a couple other ones they had mentioned as well. But basically, you go in and pick whatever field that you think will be useful to you, right? So that's good to know here. And I'm not sure if it, let's see here. There we go. That's what I was looking for, the user agent. This will have some funky stuff in it too. Sometimes I'll be doing like SQL injection type of stuff, cross-site scripting, what have you, which appears to be some weird looking user agents here, right? Look at this. Looks like some type of maybe possible command injection, what have you, right? So they're running different payloads in this user agent field. So let's flip back over here, take a look. Now, ideally, you want to use OSINT as well. You can plug these IPs into like VirusTotal, URL scan.io, abuse IPDB or whatever, who is, and try to gather some more details, see if it's been flagged as malicious, etc., etc. So we have narrowed down the results to only show the logs from the .42 IP address, looked at some of the fields of interest and found the traces of the domain being probed, and let's see here. So let's just follow along here. Validate the IP that is scanning. So what do we need to do to validate the scanning attempt? Simple. Dig further into the web logs. Let us narrow down the results. Look into Suricata logs and see if any rule is triggered on this communication. So let's go ahead and grab this here. Search query explanation. So basically, we're using the same index, search for that same domain, same that source IP that we found that was suspicious. This time, we're searching inside of this source type equals Suricata. So that's what they're gonna say here, right? So we're querying so the logs from Suricata log source that are detected / generated from the source IP .42. Okay, so we're gonna see something like this here. Let's plug it in, and let me scroll up here. Delete all that. Enter. So there we go. We already have some stuff coming back here. All right, let's see here. We have narrowed our search on the source IP and looked at the source type, Suricata, see what Suricata triggered alerts in the right panel. We could not find the field of interest, so we clicked on more fields and searched for the fields that contain the signature alerts information, which is important one to note. Okay, so it didn't populate here under interesting fields, what they're saying, right? Yeah, I don't see signature. So what you can do is go down here and where it says more fields, click on that, and you'll get additional fields to choose from, right? So let's take a look here, and maybe it was this one they were looking for here. So you can also um, hit that drop down, and okay, well, I guess you can't see it once you've added it, but anyway, click that drop down there, you'll see some examples and such. So I think that's it here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that field. And I've already forgot the name of it. It was Suricata something, I believe, right? So there we go. That's what I want to look at. All right, so there we go. Um, let's take a look here. I think that was it. All right, so question time. So you know what to do. Pause the video and try to answer these yourself. Come into the video, and then we'll step through it together. Let's take a look at these questions. One, Suricata alert highlighted the CV value associated with the attack attempt. What is the CV value? They also have a hint over here if you get stuck here. So let's take a look here at what they're talking about. Now, be sure you add the correct fields in here. I've selected quite a few of them in here, but the one that you'll probably need is going to be this alert.signature. So make sure you grab that one and take a look here. And you can already see there's some CVs mentioned inside of here. Now, this is probably going to be it, but in case it's not, you can just go in, just add CV in here like so, and it should pull back some information, back those events. So we have 38 events. They got CV inside of there. So let's go to alert signature, and it looks like this is what we're looking for here. This CV 2014 6271. Okay, and let's see here. I was trying to see if there's a quick way to grab it, but I see there's other CVs and such mentioned inside of here. There's another one here, but okay. Well, let's just try that one and see, since that is what just came up in here, but there's other CVs. I think it said there's certain criteria, right? Yeah, with the attack attempt. Okay, so that should be it then. Yeah, because the other ones don't say, they don't say attempt inside of them, right? So I'm assuming that's it. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm just going to go ahead and grab it. Yeah, attempted administrator privilege. This is probably it here. And it said allowed on it too. So let's plug that in as our answer. There we go. What is the CMS our web server is using? So let's see if we can find that. I think we saw a bit earlier when we looked at the, was it the URI? URL or something in here. One of these had something in there that had highlighted the what this was. So let's see. It's got to be in one of these fields, possibly. And maybe it's under HTTP. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in here. So let's try to back out of some of this here and see if we get any different results here. Okay, this is what is the web scanner the attacker used to perform the scanning attempts? What's the IP of this domain? So let's see. And let's take a look here. Maybe it's under more fields. I thought there was another one, URI. It was under this here. Okay, so maybe I'm just overlooking it. Or maybe there's not a field for it. I guess not. Okay, so, oh, well, there we go. URL. It says Joomla, which is a CMS if you do a Google search on it. So let's see if that's what they're looking for, which is probably it. Joomla. There we go. Sweet. And I'm assuming you can take a look at one of these too. Like, let's just see one. And you can look at some of the events if there's any other details in there. What is the web scanner the attacker used to perform these scanning attempts? So we may have to look at that CV stuff again. I'm not sure, but let's see here. Okay, port 80. Interesting stuff here. File info, what's that? Okay. All right, so we need to find the web scanner and then the IP of that server. All right, so we need to get the IP address of the web server, and this is what my query looks like here. Take a look at the events here. You can see the destination IP is right here. That's the one we need to grab out of here because the source IP is where the scanning is coming from. Once again, if it's not over here, then you'll have to go in and manually select it. We have different ports as well. So let's go ahead and grab this real quick. And that should be it there. Yeah, that's what, yeah, the IP address of the domain. So let's see, what is the web scanner the attacker used to perform these scanning attempts? So let's take a look and see if we can find that. Maybe it's in the user agent field or something. So basically you have to go through and look at these events to try to figure out the answers for this one. But I know that there was a field for like user agent, had some stuff in there. So you can take a look in this. You'll come across this Acunix or whatever, Acunix, whatever, however you pronounce it. They'll figure out that this is a scanner that is used to scan like web applications and whatnot, or I believe it's just a regular web scanner. But you do a Google search on it, and it's going to come back as a scanner. So if it's just to hit enter here, web application security scanner. So there we go there. This will be our answer for that one. Okay, I'm gonna hit this hint here. They changed this up, so now it asks AI about stuff here. I had this earlier as well to try it out. So, but it gives you stuff to use here. So, use this log source, use this stream HTTP to get that particular answer there. But we already found it in the events. So let's continue on to task number 5, exploitation phase, and let's see what they're talking about here. All right. The attacker needs to exploit the vulnerability to gain access to the system or server. In this task, we'll look at the potential exploitation attempt from the attacker against our web server and see if the attacker got successful in exploiting or not. To begin our investigation, let's note the information we have so far. So we have found 2 IP addresses from the reconnaissance phase with sending requests to our server. One of the IPs is this .42, was seen attempting to scan the server with the IP of .70. The attacker was using the web scanner Acunetex for scanning attempt. I can't talk today. Count. Let's see how the following search query to see the number of counts by each source IP against the web server. So I'm going to copy and paste this out. Explanation. This query uses the stats function to display the count of the IP address in the filled source IP. All right, so let's get out of this here. Delete everything. Okay, and we should get something like this. Additionally, we can also create different visualizations to show the result. Click visualization and then select the visualization as shown below. So we get these fancy little charts and stuff if we wanted to. So once this finishes running, okay, visualization. So there we go. Interesting there. Different stuff here, column chart. You can flip it around. Okay, cool. Now we will narrow down the results to show requests sent to our web server, which has the IP address, this .70. Okay, let's go and grab that. Explanation is where we look for all the inbound traffic towards the .70 IP. Okay, we'll see something like this. Interesting. Delete that. Okay, let's run it. The result in the source IP field shows 3 IP addresses. There's 1 local IP and 2 remote IPs that originated the HTTP traffic towards our web server. Another interesting field, HTTP method, will give us information about the HTTP methods observed during these HTTP communications. We observed most of the requests coming to our server through the post request as shown below. And you can see there that breakdown of those methods used there. So we see something similar here. Okay. And if we scroll down here, there's agent fields again, and there's methods right here. And we can see similar information. To see what kind of traffic is coming through the post request, we can narrow down a field HTTP method equals post as shown below. So you can type that in, and or you can just click it. So if we wanted to, we just go ahead and just click it and it should add it automatically, right? So there we go. Okay, that looks right to me. But you see how you can just click on the field, it'll add them up here automatically. So now we'll just see information for these post requests. So that's good to know there. And once again, there's just 2 IPs. So take a quick peek here and see. You know what? I'm going to select that out of here. There. So now it should be at the top. So we'll have to keep going, scrolling down and trying to grab it. So there we go there. Okay. It says the result in the source IP field shows 2 IP addresses, all the post requests to our server. Interesting fields in the left panel. We find some interesting fields containing valuable information. Some fields are the following: source IP, from data, user agent, URI, which we already know about these interesting fields, right? Okay. The term Joomla is associated with the web server found in a couple of fields like URI, URL path, HTTP refer, etc. This means our web server is using Joomla CMS, which is content management service, in the back end, which we've already discovered that earlier, right? But they're just mentioning other areas that you can find this particular information. And also, we saw that in the URL area. A little search on the internet of the admin page of Joomla shows us this here: Joomla administrator index.php. Okay, is important because the URI contains the login page to access the web portal. Therefore, we will be examining the traffic coming to this admin panel for a potential brute force attack. Makes sense. Reference here. We can narrow down our search to see these requests to send to the login portal by using the information here. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this out here. So now we're searching for the specific URI that has this login portal information there. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete everything out of here, plug it in there. Okay. All right, so basically, so they're adding that in the search query to show the traffic coming to this URI, and it should look like this here. Good to know there. The from data field contains the request sent through the form on the admin panel page, which has a login page. We suspect the attacker may have tried multiple credentials in an attempt to gain access to the admin panel. To confirm, we will dig into the values contained within the form data field shown as below, or shown below like this. Okay, good to know there. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, same thing, same IPs and everything there. But you can see all kinds of information there. All right, and they were looking at format data. So let's see if we could just add that to the top there, I guess. Fields. And is my query messed up? Let's see. No? All right, I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick. There we go, form data. Okay, so there we go. Let's get to know there. And now we need to just put this one in there to make it look nice and neat, I guess. So let's do that. Putting it into the table format. So it should be easier to read like this. This is good here. This is good information. It says we will add this table, yada, 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 to create a table containing important fields as shown below. Good to know there. It looks a lot cleaner too. If we keep looking at the results, we'll find two interesting fields. Username includes the single username admin and all the events, and another field pass a WD that contains multiple passwords in it, which shows the attacker from the IP this .114 was trying to guess the password by brute forcing and attempting numerous passwords. The time elapsed between multiple events also suggests that the attacker was using an automated tool, as various attempts were observed in a short time. And you should have alerts and detections built around this activity that should alert your SOC on this information so they can go dig deeper into it and see what's going on there. Okay, so there it is in the table format there. We can see username equals admin, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so good information there. Extract the username and password fields using regex. Looking into the logs, we see that these fields are not parsed properly. Let's use regex in the search to extract only these two fields and their values from the logs and display them. We can display only the logs that contain the username and password values in the form data field by adding the form data equals star username star password star in the search or in the above search. So here's the query here. I'm going to copy and paste it in. Should look like that. Okay, so now, and also post request too. So let's hit enter there because it has to be post request because they're posting to the brute forced things of that nature. Okay, so let's see. It's time to use regex, which is regular expressions, to extract all the password values found against the filled password and logs. To do so, Splunk has a function called rex. If we type it in the search head, it will show detail and example how to extract the values. So they did the pipe and then rex. Okay, let's use regex. Rex field equals form data pass equals et cetera to extract the password values only. This will pick up the form data field and extract all the values found with the field creds. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that. It should look something like this. Okay, so let's take a look and do it real time. Okay, so we should get a cleaner output, I'm assuming. We have extracted passwords using or being used against the username admin on the admin panel for the web server. If we examine the fields in the logs, we'll find two values against the field HTTP user agent shown below. Okay, so there's okay. Well, let's change that real quick. All right, I'll have to just edit that out. Hopefully, there's no more bad words in there, but we'll see. So this is done. Let's flip back over here, and it says that they're looking at the user agent field So there's creds, and let's see. Yeah, okay. So we have extracted passwords, yada yada yada. Now they're adding this user agent field. The first value clearly shows the attacker used a Python script to automate the brute force attack against our server, but one request came from Mozilla browser. Why? To find the answer to the query, let's slightly change the about search query and add the HTTP user agent, a field in the search head. Let's create a table to display the keys and the values by appending table time blah 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 in the search query shown below. So we're gonna add some more items here. All right, that'll help us out in our search here. Now, what you can do, you can duplicate these tabs, by the way, to make these easier, or you can pull one out of here and have two separate windows to work out your queries. That way, you don't have to keep flipping back and forth and whatnot. You know, but let's clear this one out here. See what it looks like. Oops. Okay. This result clearly shows a continuous brute force attack attempt from the .114 and one password attempt, Batman from IP address .42 using Mozilla browser. All right, so there we go there. Nice and clean. Like I was saying, if we want to just clear some of the stuff out of here. So let's see what this looks like. But this should have our fields here on the left side. Right, so if I was building out a query here, then I could just open up two different tabs here and then just plug these items over into my search, right? If I needed to reference it. But anyway, so we have questions down here. So go ahead, pause the video, try to answer the questions yourself, then come back and we will continue. I think y'all should already been able to find all these answers to these questions as we went through this particular section. What was the URI, which got multiple brute force attempts, which we can see up here because we went through this together as we went through this particular task. So it should be this one here because that was the admin page, and we just need this piece, I believe. So let's go ahead and pop that in as our answer and see if that's what they're looking for here. Against which username was the brute force attempt made? Well, that was admin as we're going through the room. What was the correct password for admin to access the content management system running on I'm really not Batman.com? And that was Batman because when we were looking at those passwords, we saw that come up in one of these results here. So let me see if I can find it. Maybe I scrolled past it. See, okay, start looking for password stuff here. And there was a list of creds. So there's Batman right there. And it may have been in this particular graphic here. Okay, there we go. You can see the IP right there. Is that the what was the other IP? The 40 dot something IP. Yeah, the dot 42 IP. So that's going to be our answer there, Batman. But we saw multiple attempts as well that was coming in. How many unique passwords were attempted in the brute force attempt? And if we go back up to that same graphic, see if I can find it again. All right, you know what? I'm just going to grab it out of here and plug it in. And let's see. So we should be able to find it in here if it doesn't show up here immediately. All right, I'm gonna go and grab this one as well in case we need to run it for something. But we should be able to get the number of attempts inside of there. So this is 413, and we know that Batman was the one we're looking for here. So 412 should be our answer here, I believe. So let's see if that's it here, 412. Yes, and this could have been worded better It should have said something like how many password attempts were there that were not successful, or attempts that had failed, or something like that. This is kind of a tricky question. What IP address is likely attempting a brute force attack against that domain? Well, we know that's going to be um, the freaking uh, the dot 40 something. I keep forgetting what it was. I think, yeah, it should be this one, if I'm not mistaken here. So let's double check here. And actually, that's the next one. After finding, yeah, logging to the admin panel is going to be this one here. Because if we're looking at the one that had the, I think it was the user agent listed in here. Yeah, we can see that here. Batman. You can see the user agent. So they're logging into that portal using Mozilla. Okay, so this dot 42 should be our answer for that one. I'm going to grab it here. Okay, and let me find this other one here. Attempting the brute force attack. So we actually did see that. It was this dot 114 is the other one that was listed in there, because that's the other one that was doing the actual brute force attack. And then when they found out successful password, they logged in with this other IP address there. So this should be what we're looking for. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, paste it over. All right, task number 6, installation phase, and let's go ahead and see what they're talking about here. Once the attacker successfully exploited the security of a system, he will try to install a backdoor in an application for persistence or to gain more control of the system. This activity comes under the installation phase. In the previous exploitation phase, we found evidence of the web server I'm really not Batman.com getting compromised via brute force attack by the attacker using the Python script to automate getting the correct password. The attacker used the IP for the attack and the IP to log in to the server. This phase will investigate any payload or malicious program uploaded to the server from any attacker's IP and installed into the compromised server. To begin investigation, we would need to narrow down any HTTP traffic coming from the .70 containing the term .xe. This query may not lead to the findings, but it's a good way to start from one extension and move to the next. So let's go ahead and grab it and plug it in, see what comes back. All right, so we should get a similar output like this here. All right, so let's take a look. And we have similar output like so. With the search query in place, we're looking at fields that could have some values of interest as usual. As we could not find the field name or the file name field, we looked at the missing field to saw a field part file name. Observing the interesting fields and values, we found, or we can see the field part file name contains the two file names, an executable 3791.exe and a PHP file agent.php. So if we're looking at those fields here, so we have to go to more fields, and let's get rid of this. You can just type in like file. So there we go. And once again, click that drop down, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look here. So we have that listed up here under selected fields. Okay, so let's see here. It says next we need to find if any of these files came from the IP addresses that were found to be associated with the attack earlier. Click on the file name. If it has been, it will be added to the search query. Then look for the CIP, which seems to represent the client IP. So this is the one they selected, was this 3791, the IP, which does sound suspicious. Okay, so we selected that, and we should get something like this, and we should see the IP there under CIP. Okay, so we have events for this now, and then there's CIP right there. Okay, was the file executed on the server after being uploaded? So let's see what they say there. We have found that the file 70 or 3791.exe was uploaded on the server. The question that may come to our mind would be, was the file executed on the server? We need to narrow it down. Our search query to show the logs from the host-centric log sources answers the question. So index equals bots v1 and then the name of the xe. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and slim it down with just these two items here. Delete all this. Enter. Okay, so we should get something like this. Next Windows event logs. Following the host-centric log sources, all sources were found to have traces of the executable in Sysmon, WinEvent log, and FortiGate UTM, which would make sense if it's coming from Sysmon and WinEvent log, endpoint logs, right? For evidence of execution, we can leverage Sysmon and look at the event code equals 1 for program execution, and there's a reference to that here. So process creation, that's what they're looking for there. Okay, so see how they're building out their query to figure out this activity here. And it says this query will look for the process creation logs containing the term 3791.exe in the logs with that event code. Okay, so they're looking at this, the XML stuff here. So let's go ahead and do that. XML. All right, and then the event code. So we just plug that in. I'm just going to delete that and just paste it in like so. Okay, so we should get something like this. There's command line, gives you that information there. Looking at the output, we can clearly say that this file was executed on the compromised server. We can also look at other host-centric log sources to confirm the result. You can see they're firing it off with the command prompt right in the terminal. Okay, so that's good to know there. And this is finished running. So we go to the command line, we should see something similar there. Good to know. All right, question time. Once again, pause the video and try to answer these yourself, then come back to the video, and we will continue on. Let's take a look. Sysmon also collects the hash value of the process being created. What is the MD5 hash of the program 3791.exe? And there is a field in here called hashes, but there's different ones they have selected in here. So if we go and try to figure out this here and see if there's a hash connected to that specific one. Let's see here if this shows up anywhere. Okay. And you have to sort, you have to look through these logs. There's a SHA-256, there's a SHA-1, and MD5 should be in here somewhere. There it is, MD5. This appears to be it here. So I'm going to grab that with the Control C, plug it in, and that's not it. There's another one in here. Okay. Let's see if it's this one. It's not. Okay, so we can just go to hashes and see what comes up for these. Let's try this one. Okay, this might be it here. And we see that XE is listed here. Okay, so I think this is it here. Command line 3791 XE. So let's try this. There we go. Looking at the logs, which user executed the program 3791 on this server? Okay, so there should be like a user thing, username up here. There's the GUID looks like here, or a GUID there. So let's see if there's user, and there's only one in here. So IUSR appears to be it there. And he wants to grab the entire thing. So let's grab it here. And it says search hash on virus total, whether name associated with that file. So I'm just going to grab it here, and then we can plug it into virus total and see what comes back. Virus total there. Okay, so let's see. ab.xe appears to be our answer here. So let's plug it in. Now, obviously, in the real world, you just other things inside of VirusTotal here to gather some more details on this particular file of interest. Okay, but for the sake of this task here, we're just going to follow along what it says. So I think we're done with VirusTotal there. And also, same thing, you'll have to spend some time taking a look at these logs to figure out which one that you'll need to take a look at to have these specific information that you're needing to answer these questions. So we are done with that one. Task number 7, action on objectives. And let's see what they're talking about here. As the website was defaced due to a successful attack by the adversary, it would be helpful to understand what ended up on the website that caused the defacement. And as an analyst, our first quest could be to figure out the traffic flow that could lead us to the answering question. There can be a different approach to finding the answer in this question. We will start our investigation by examining the Suricata log source and the IP addresses communicating with the web server .70. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, so they're looking at the source IPs again, or the sources here. Logs not showing the external IPs communicating with the server. Let us change the flow of the direction to see if any communication originates over the server. Okay, so now they're looking to see if there's anything, any communication originates over the server here. Okay, so that's the one of interest they're looking at, is that .70, right, as mentioned up here. Okay, all right, there's the query for this one here, and you can see there's tons of different IPs here, but the ones in question here is .42 and .114, which we saw earlier. What's interesting about this output, usually the web server logs do not originate the traffic. The browser on the client would be the source, and the server would be the destination. Here we're seeing 3 external IPs towards which our web server initiates the outbound traffic. There's a huge chunk of traffic going to these external IP addresses, which would be worth checking. And if you want to do that, you can do that with this here to figure out where that's going. So let's just grab it and take a look at it real quick. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, there we go. Event type flow. You can see all kinds of information inside of this as well. So let's flip back over. And they're looking at the URL. Okay. And there's the login page there. The URL field shows 2 PHP files and 1 JPEG file. The JPEG file looks interesting. Let us change the search query and see where this JPEG file came from. All right. So it looks something like this. Right, so I think we're getting the gist of it now. Let's plug it in. All right, the end result clearly shows a suspicious JPEG. Poison ivy is coming from you. Batman.jpg was downloaded from the attacker's host. Print glass, whatever that is, jumpingcrowd.com to face the website. We can see that here. All right, cool. And same thing. Question time. What is the name of the file that defaced the I'm really Batman, not Batman.com website? Well, we saw that's the JPEG, right? As we were going through there. So we'll just plug this in real quick. FortiGate firewall, FortiGate UTM detected SQL attempt from the attacker's 40.80.148.42 IP. What is the name of the rule that was triggered during the SQL injection attempt? All right, so we need to take a look at those logs for that and see. And I'm just going to back out of this. Okay, Suricata. And I believe there was wasn't there a signature or a signature field or something like that? Let's see. All right, so we need to actually look at those. Yeah, so we need to get out of this here. Um, let's do this. So let's remove this source type or change the source type to Fortinet UTM, and let's see. So we need to grab this IP as the source. So let's change that. Let's see if this makes a difference. If we can't use SRC as a field, then maybe source IP. But this appears to be it here. Okay, cool. And now we need to find, let's see, attack maybe, and see if they're talking about SQL injection. There's one there. So let's click it and see what they're looking for here. That's probably the role name actually. Let's see if this is it. Yes. All right, cool. And we should be able to see like the correlated information, which we're seeing like all kinds of events here. But we're done with that one. So task number 8 here, we're going to talk about command and control, and there's quite a bit to go through here. Something to note here for this hash is that if you use this particular query here and you go down to the command line, you can just select the XE name and there's only one result here, right? So once you click that, it should give you that hash for this. So let's go ahead and type in, okay, it's already there, MD5 equals whatever, and you'll see it here come back. There's only one result, so this is the only one that can be. So just take that into consideration. But let's go ahead and continue on to the command and control. The attacker uploaded the file to the server before defacing it. While doing so, the attacker used a dynamic DNS to resolve a malicious IP. Our objective would be to find the IP that the attacker decided the DNS. To investigate the communication to and from the adversary's IP addresses, we will be examining the network-centric log sources mentioned above. We'll first pick the FortiGate UTM to review the firewall logs, and then move on to the other log sources. All right, so we'll just use this as an example because we're going to look at the other pictures as well inside of this particular task to see what it looks like here. But okay, so it's pretty straightforward here. Okay, so looking at the Fortinet firewall logs, you can see the source, destination, IPs, URL. Look at the fields on the left. You can, and the field URL contains the FQDN, which is the fully qualified domain name. All right, we can see everything over here, what they're talking about, this left side. Okay, so should be good there. And they actually made that a selected field, I believe. It's not if it's not up there already. All right, so URL is what I'm looking for here, like that. All right. So we have found the answer. We can verify other log sources. Let us verify the answer by looking at another log source, which is the stream :HTTP, and they're using this specific query here to do that. So let's plug it in, take a look. Okay. Here's some more information: destination IP, HTTP method, request, site, source IP, URL, or sorry, URI path. We identified the suspicious domain as a command and control server, which the attacker contacted after gaining control of the server. You see the port as well, 1337, which is like leet, speak or whatever. Destination port leet or 1337. Note: we can also confirm the domain by looking at the last log source, which is stream DNS, to see what DNS queries were sent from the web server during the inspection period. So that's good to know there. And some questions. One question. This attack used the dynamic DNS to resolve the malicious IP. What fully qualified domain name is associated with the attack? Now, didn't we see that earlier up here? Started talking about FQDNs here. And that should be it there. This pranking glass or whatever this is here. And let's see if we can grab it. Okay, so we're gonna plug this in. Task number 9, weaponization phase. Weaponization. In the weaponization phase, the adversaries would create malware, malicious document to gain initial access, / evade detection, etc. Establish domains similar to the target domain to trick users, create a command and control server for the post-exploitation communication / activity, etc. We have found some domains / IP addresses associated with the attacker during the investigations. This task will mainly look at into OSINT sites to see what more information we can get about the adversary. So far, we have found a domain, prankglass in ebracket.jumpycrab.com, associated with the attack. Our first task would be to find the IP address tied to the domains that would potentially be pre-staged to attack Wayne Enterprises. Okay. In the following exercise, we will be searching the online threat intel sites for information like IP addresses, domains, email addresses associated with this domain, which would help us know more about the adversary. So RopeTex is a threat intel site that provides information about IP addresses, domain names, etc. Please search for the domain on the RopeTex site and see what we get. Will we get the IP address associated with this domain? So if you want to go there, you could see different IPs down there. Okay, so that's good to know there. Some domains / subdomains associated with this domain. Interesting there. Reference. Next, search IP address, the .114 on the Intel site. You can see some more information there, some more records here, it looks like. What did we find? The IP is associated with some domains that look pretty similar to Wayne Enterprises site. You can see that here. And this is a usual tactic of threat actors to do something like this, have similar looking websites or domain names and stuff like that to try to trick you into making to make it look more convincing. Says, what do we find? IP is associated with some domains. Okay, we already saw that here. Virus total, which everyone knows about or should know about by now. Analyze suspicious files, domains, IPs, etc. Search for the IP on virus total sites. Now, if we go to Relations tab, we can see all the domains associated with this IP, which look similar to Wayne Enterprises company, which we saw that earlier, as I briefly talked about. In the domain list, we saw that the domain that is associated with the attacker, poisoniv.com. Let's search for this domain on virus total. Okay. So yeah, I guess yeah, if you want to follow along here, you can plug this into these websites and see. We can also look at who has information from domain tools, if anything valuable is there, name servers, IP addresses, IP location, good to know there. So basically, you're just going to use OSINT, and you're going to use those indicators of compromise that are in your environment. You're going to use OSINT tools to try to figure out some more information on the attack and things that were carried out in that nature. Okay, question time. What is the IP address? What IP address has poison ivy tied to domains that are pre-staged to attack Wayne Enterprises? This should be that .114. So if we scroll back up here, you can see what they're talking about as we're going through this room here. It says next search the IP address, the 114 on the threat intel site. Okay, so that's the one that's going to be associated with this particular domain, the poison ivy. Based on the data gathered from this attack and common open source intel sources from domain names, what is the email address that it's likely associated with Poison Ivy. So for this one, you got to go to this alien vault to figure out this. Okay, but I think we get the gist of it. I'm not sure if we'll need this entire thing here, so let's just grab this. In case we need to do a search on that side of here. So nothing came back. Let's try this. Okay, so we have something so far. There's emails here for that. And so you have to scroll down here to this who is, and then you'll need to make sure you flip these pages here. Otherwise, you won't be able to find this answer. But the email is going to be this one here, this Lillian Rose at poisonivy.com. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, task number 10, delivery phase. Attackers create malware and infect devices to gain initial access or evade defenses. Find ways to deliver it through different means. We have identified various IP addresses, domains, and email addresses associated with this adversary. Our task for this lesson would be to use the information we have about the adversary and use various threat hunting platforms and OSINT sites to find any malware linked with the adversary. Threat intel report suggested that this adversary group, Poison Ivy, appears to have a secondary attack vector in case the initial compromise fails. Our objective would be to understand more about the attacker and their methodology and correlate the information found in the logs with various threat intel sources. So OSINT sites, virus total, threats miner, hybrid analysis. Basically, you're going to plug these IOCs into these OSINT sites to figure out some more information, right? So this one's threat miner to plug it in this .114, getting some information back here. We found 3 associated with this IP, which one file with the hash value this here seems to be malicious and something of interest. Now click on the MD5 hash value to see the metadata and other important information about this particular file. Okay, it's kind of blurry, but we can see a little bit there. Reference here, so if we want to take a look at it here. And okay, well, I'm not sure what happened there. Virus total, which we should know how to use by now. Search for the hash of virus total here. We get information about the metadata for this malware in the details tab. Okay. Hybrid analysis is a beneficial site that shows the behavior analysis of any malware. Here we can look at the activities performed by this malware after being executed. Some of the information that hybrid analysis provides the following: network communication, DNS request, contact the host with the country mapping strings. You can see the rest there. So this is a online sandbox. So you put that most file in there, and then it'll fire off in this hybrid analysis sandbox environment, and then it'll generate a report with those findings of the activity that occurred. Scroll down, you will get information about this malware. Okay, good to go there. And let's see, that's the reference here. So let's see if this actually works. If it gives us, okay, so this one actually worked. It gives us that report that was already generated from this particular task here. All right, so that's good to go there. Question time. What is the hash of the malware associated with the group? And I mean, we saw it up here, so this should be it here. I mean, if you want to look at it, virus total, we can take a look there. But this should be it here. Miranda Tate screensaver, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whoops, went to the wrong one. And, okay. Well, I didn't know it took me out of the room, so I'll just click that back button. And let's scroll back down here. And I selected the wrong one. Let's see. Ah, this is it here. This is the one we're looking for here. Okay. What is the name of the malware associated with the Poison Ivy infrastructure? And we already saw the name in that virus total. So if we go back and take a look there, this should be it here. Let's go ahead and grab it and paste it in. Okay, so we're done with that. Conclusion, task number 11. In this fun exercise, as a SOC analyst, we have investigated a cyber attack where the attacker had defaced a website Of Wayne Enterprises, we mapped the attacker's activities into 7 phases of the cyber kill chain. Let's recap what we've done so far. So recon phase, first looked at any reconnaissance activity from the attacker to identify the IP addresses and other details about the adversaries. So here's our findings here. IP address is this .42 was found to be scanning our web server. The attacker was using Reconnaissance as a web scanner. Exploitation phase, we then looked at traces of exploitation attempts and found brute force attacks against our server, which were successful, right? Brute force attack originated from the .114 IP. The IP address used to gain access was this .42. 142 unique brute force attempts were made against the server, out of which one attempt was successful. Installation phase, we saw that this 37.91xe was observed to be uploaded by the attacker. Looked at Sysmon logs and found an MT5 hash. So we looked at endpoint information there to determine this information or this answer for that one, right? Everything works together. This is why you should have all your needed data sources inside your SIM, so you have one place to correlate information with. Next one, action and objectives. After compromising the web server, the attacker defaced the website. Findings, we examined the logs and found the file name used to deface the web server. Weaponization phase, we found the domain, IP address here. Findings, multiple masquerading domains were found associated with the attacker's IPs. We found the email address that was associated with it. Deliver phase. In this phase, we again leveraged online threat intel sites to find malware associated with the adversary's IP address, which appeared to be a secondary attack vector if the initial compromise failed. So our findings, the malware name, and then MD5 of the malware was found there as well. So we are done. This was a relatively long room, but there's a lot of hands-on activity to help you follow through, a lot of hand-holding as well, but we were able to find these answers and go to that investigative mindset, connect the dots, piece everything together with the cyber kill chain. Okay, so very, very good information inside of here. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I upload a new video to the channel. As always, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for watching the video. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.